Lunaverse, Episode 3, Helping Hands by Rainbow Double Dash. Chapter 1, Lending a Helping Hoof. Come in, the mayor cried, looking bigger, and it did come to strange his figure. Her queer long cloak from hoof to head was a half of yellow and half of red, and she herself was tall and thin, with sharp gold eyes, each like a pin, and like loose hair, and lips where smiles were out and in. There was no guessing her kith and kin, and nobody could be cold enough to admire the tall mare in her quaint attire. Quoth one, "It's as my great-grandsire, totting up at the trouble-deuce tone, had just walked this way from his painted tombstone." Lyra advanced to the council table. "Please, your honors," said she, "I am able, by means of a secret charm, to draw all creatures beneath the living sun, that creep and swim, or fly or run, after me as you have never saw. And I chiefly use my charm on creatures that do ponies harm, the mole, toad, newt, and viper, and people call me the Pied Liar. Yet," said she, "poor Lyra that I am, in Tartary I need to charm last month from his huge swarm of giant gnats. I eased in Rowan at the nizam of a monstrous brood of vampire bats. Vampire rip-bats, that is. And as for what your brain bewilders, if I could rid your town of rats, then you will give me 1,000 guilders." The mayor and corporation looked between themselves. "I don't know," said the mayor. 1,000 guilders seems to be an awful lot just to kill the rats." "But they fought your dogs and killed your cats," Lyra pointed out with a stamp of her hood. "They bit the foals in their cradles, and ate the cheeses out of the fats, licked the soup from the cook's own ladles, split open the kegs of spalted sprats, made nests inside the stallion's best hats, and even spoiled all the mare's chats by drowning their speaking with shrieking in 50 different sharps and flats. Which is actually kind of impressive for rats, though, that they can harmonize so well when they have that much going on at once."
"What were you going to do with the rats, anyway?"
asked one of the corporation. "I do not know. Drown them in the river or something." "Drown them in the river?" demanded the mayor incredulously. "Oh, yes, perfect idea. Pied Liar, let's get 1,000 couple rats and drown them in the same water we drink." "You filter it first, don't you?" asked Lyra, casting a sidelong glance at the cup of water she apparently held. "That hardly seems like the point." "And I did say or something. I won't necessarily down in the river. I'll lead them to a wonderful cave that leads to a magical world of plenty." "Do you know where a wonderful cave that leads to a magical world of plenty is?" "Well, I know where a cave is." "But here her again," asked the mayor, looking down at the corporation. "Look, if you don't pay me 1,000 guilders, then I'm going to get all magic up in here and drag you all to that cave!" "I'm seriously doubting you could do that." "Oh, yeah?" demanded Lyra as he leapt up and came crashing down onto the floor of Bonbon's room, having fallen from her man friend's bed, backwards, again. "Ow!" she noted. My little pony, ah, my little pony, friendship never meant that much to me, my little pony. But now you're all here, now I can see stormy weather, a lot to share, a musical bond with loving care, teaching laughter. It's an easy feat, and magic makes it all complete. You have my little ponies. How did I ever make so many true friends?" Created by Rainbow Double Dash, only on the hub. Lyra scratched the back of her head, where the cloth full of ice had been. Her mane was all matted down against the skull of her head. Bonbon, meanwhile, moved about the kitchen of her home, making breakfast for the two of them. Lyra would have helped, but her attempts at cooking anything usually ended, at best, in something that was completely inedible. She learned to sit patiently and wait. "At least you didn't land on your horn this time," the cream-colored earth pony noted of her mare friend. Lyra winced at her memory. Unicorn horns were sensitive. Landing on one after falling out of bed was a singularly painful experience, one that she had, unfortunately, gone through at least twice this month. Ugh, I think I need to be tied to the bed. Oh? Bon asked, stopping what she was doing and giving Lyra an arch look. Do you now? The unicorn stared uncomprehendingly for a few moments, before realizing what she had just said, began to correct herself, thought about the possibilities for a moment, and settled on a wiry grin. Maybe we could test that idea tonight, she suggested, leaning forward to where she had sat at the kitchen table and laying her head to rest on her footlocks, eyes half-lidded. Bon shook her head sadly as she went back to the pancakes that she was making for the two of them. Maybe, she said, but I imagine you'll be too tuckered out from your show in Canterlot. Lyra's eyes widened as she remembered. She couldn't believe that she somehow forgot the show that she had been waiting for all month, preparing for over and over for the past 2 days, had slipped her mind. Then again, there was the blunt force trauma to her head to consider. Right, she noted, sighing as she rubbed her eyes over her host. I should have just gotten a hotel in Canterlot. I can't believe I thought going there and back by train 2 days in a row was a good idea. But then you miss out on these, Bon pointed out as he finished the last of the half-dozen pancakes and set it out on the tray. Then he brought the tray over to the table, which Lyra had set up with syrup and powdered sugar in between creating her ice pack. And what's more important, being fully prepared for your first solo show, or my pancakes? Lyra blinked a few times, sensing a trap. She bought time by taking a bite from her pancakes, but that only gave her a few extra seconds. Folks? She asked finally, hoping for the best. No, it's your show. Bon noted, though she leaned forward and pecked Lyra on the nose, adding, but, good guess. Besides, you've rehearsed, you're a natural to begin with, and you've got 10 hours for extra practice and rest. 9, Lyra corrected. I have that thing with Trixie first. Bon made a slight face, pausing at her own meal. Shouldn't it wait? She promised it'd only take an hour, at most. It has something to do with Princess Luna and Corona. Lyra trailed off, as a slight shudder went through Bon's frame, and she again paused in eating. For the briefest moment, her eyes glazed over slightly in memory. Lyra and Bon were 2 out of less than 100 ponies who had the dubious honor of having both met the Tyrant Sun herself in person. But the difference was in the details. Lyra struggled through the dangerous Everfree Forest itself to get to the artifacts necessary to combat the Mad Alicorn, and had emerged first for the other side as the element of loyalty. Along with the other elements, Corona had driven Corona off, and Equestria was saved. But Bon, on the other hoof, had been kidnapped by her, along with about a dozen other adult ponies and around 50 foals. Corona had been intent on using them to secure Ponyfield's loyalty as he attempted to take over Equestria, had been ready, willing, and certainly able to murder them all if Ponyfield had done anything else. Lyra had previously intended to spend more time at her parents' house before moving in with Bon, but the cream-colored Earth Pony still had nightmares about the experience. Dreams of fire, hate, and the blank, mad eyes of Corona, the Tyrant Sun. The nightmares were less frequent, however, and less vivid. When she shared a bed with Lyra, Bon said with a low voice, I guess that means it's important too. Lyra nodded, but like I said, she noted quickly, she says it'll be fast. She knows about the show and promised me that nothing would get in the way of it. Trixie lies, though, Bon said, dragging herself back to the here and now. Habitually. Yeah, but she's not as good at it as she thinks she is. Lyra countered. Then she glanced at the clock on the Bon's kitchen wall, which showed that it was currently 11:09 a.m. Equestria time is apparently an hour ahead of me. I'll get there by 11:30. It'll be an hour tops. Then I'll stop off here, get my stuff, and grab the 1 o'clock to Canterlot. Even if I miss it, there's the 3 o'clock train. Plenty of time. I hope so, Bonbon said to smile brightly. I know you're going to just do a few pieces for the Academy, but still, your first solo? Your first serious solo show? Lyra met Bonbon's smile as she tucked into her pancakes again. She needed to hurry at this point if she wanted to keep to her schedule. Piece of cake, she declared. Lyra noted with some interest that the repairs for the residency of the representative of Night Court of Luna, that title needs to be shortened, Lyra thought, had been completed between the last time she had seriously taken them in and today. The building was largely unremarkable. A 2-story thatched home like the rest of Ponyville, with only distinguishing feature being the chest-high iron fence that surrounded it, and the front gate that was marked with the equestrian coat of arms. The garden was partially buried under snow. Winter wrap-up would be coming in just a few weeks, but until then, the weather ponies of Equestria seemed determined to make up for the havoc that Corona had played with the weather back during the longest night, when she kept the sun in the sky for 20 straight hours, and made it burn, not bright, like a midsummer's day. The seafoam green unicorn was curious about whatever it was that Trixie needed her for. She considered that the blue-coated, white-maned unicorn a friend, and indeed the friendship was the very thing that had given them the power to drive off Corona. However, Trixie, though she disguised it well these days, had something of a low opinion of Lyra's choice of profession. Well, not a low opinion precisely. Rather, Trixie seemed convinced that Lyra was in constant need of work to pay the bills, not understanding that musicians could actually live quite comfortably even if they weren't super famous. No amount of patient explanation, nor terse reminders, had yet been able to disabuse Trixie of that notion. Lyra found both the front gate and front door of the residency unlocked, and so resolved to let herself in. Trixie was expecting her, after all, and Lyra had a schedule to keep to. As she entered, she hung her hat, a gray Gatsby, on the rack just inside the door, but opted to leave her wool cloak on. It'd be hot, but it would help impress on Trixie the point that Lyra had places she needed to be. She opened her mouth to call out to Trixie, to let her know she was there, when a voice from Trixie's living room interrupted. And that's what happened. Pause for laughter. By the way, I need your help. No, story's too long. Not very funny anyway. Curious, Lyra stepped forward as quietly as she could, up to the front door of the living room. Glancing inside, she saw 2 unicorns. One, with her back to the living room's door, was obviously Trixie, if the blue coat and white mane hadn't been a giveaway. The fact that she was wearing a bright purple cape, studded with silver stars, would have been the cleanser. While sitting on the couch was her matted pointy-wearer's hat. She was sitting on her haunches, facing a seafoam green unicorn, with a mane that was split between white and the same shade of green, with a cutie mark of a golden lyre. The unicorn had a bright grin plastered on her, and... Wait a second, Lyra realized, blinking several times. That's me! Okay, Trixie said, not turning around, instead focusing on Lyra. So, how about... So, you're looking to make it easy 50 bits, right? Lyra, the real Lyra, the one sitting outside the living room, bristled at that, while the one sitting inside the living room didn't react at all. Meanwhile, Trixie sighed. Yeah, brilliant, Trixie. Insinuate the jobless bum the thing again. That'll go over well. So well. Lyra grumbled as her horn glowed slightly, as she extended her magical senses outwards, focusing on the mysterious other Lyra. Almost immediately, she was able to perceive a blue aurora that hadn't been there previously, surrounding the doppelganger. The aurora rippled slightly, and as Lyra observed, it seemed that her opposite became partially transparent. Ah! She mentally realized, withdrawing her magical probing as she recalled what she had learned at Luna's Academy for Magic. Illusion. Glamour, specifically. But why did Trixie make a glamour of me? Trixie suddenly reared back on her hind hooves, casting one forward, toward the illusory Lyra, while the other was raised up as though she was holding something in it. Help me, Lyra Heartstrings! You are my only hope! It was all Lyra could do to keep a surprised burst of laughter down at that, as he realized what Trixie was doing. Practicing asking her for help on something, and using the false Lyra as a reference point. She idly wondered how long Trixie had been this, and briefly wondered if she would think it was more sad than amusing. No, Trixie intoned, coming down into her hose and letting out a long sigh. Why is this so hard to confess your true feelings to somebody? What? Lyra demanded, or tried to demand. But even that single word exclamation came out as little more than an inane syllable as the illusion of Lyra disappeared, dissolving into blue mist, while Trixie turned around wearing a slight grin. Gotcha, the blue unicorn nodded towards Lyra's horns. Felt the magic. Decided to have fun. That wasn't funny, Lyra accepted, realizing she was blushing furiously. It was for me. Trixie carried indignantly, as her horn glowed, as she telekinetically lifted her hat and put it on her head. And you were spying on me, anyway. Lyra grumbled slightly as she came into the living room. So, you need help with something? She said, deciding to move the conversation forward. Trixie grimaced, shifted her weight from right to left and back again a few times at the statement. Yes, she said, as though saying it were physically uncomfortable. You know, there's nothing wrong with asking for help from some pony. Sure there isn't, Trixie responded, looking behind her to the living room's table. There was a large thick book there, although looking relatively new. Its cover marked with the seal of Equestria, the sun, trapped behind a crescent moon with its horns pointing downwards, and a star placed between the horns. There isn't when it's, oh, I don't know, needing help with guarding, or baking something like this, but this... Lyra stared back at him a few moments, then back to Trixie. Okay, she said. Why don't you start from the top? Trixie grimaced again. Remember Zakora? Lyra blinked. Zakora was a zebra, a race of beings hailing from a far southern continent. They met her back during longest night in the Everfree as she, Trixie, and the 4 friends had gone into the forest looking for the elements. Zakora had claimed to be a friend. In reality, however, it turned out that she had been working for Corona the whole time. Yeah, Lyra answered. Trixie visited slightly again. Zebras worship the sun, she said. Lyra recoiled slightly at the statement, and Trixie pressed on. But not Corona. It's difficult to explain, especially since we don't know much about them. But from what we do know, they don't equate Corona with the sun. They have some kind of, I don't know, big sun spirit thing in their mythology. She, or he sometimes, is basically viewed like Corona was back when she was Celestia. You know, caring, giving, wise, and strong, but gentle. Lyra blinked a few times. But that's wrong, she noted. It's one of the reasons we don't have much contact with zebras, Trixie said, but it's also something that has us being the Night Court, worried. She let out a sigh. We don't know what Corona is doing right now. Now, the ambassador for Zebriga swears up and down that Zakora was acting alone, without the support of his or any other zebra nation. That this isn't some part of some larger move on the zebra's part to invade Equestria. As far as we know, he's telling the truth. Zebriga has no navy to speak of, and a large navy would be needed to launch any kind of invasion. But, Lyra noted, you don't trust him. Or rather, Princess Luna doesn't trust him. Trixie considered, then offered a shrug. We don't know much about zebras. If Corona shows up in Zebriga and claims to be their sun spirit thing, and drops a few solar flares to make their point, they'd probably believe her. She might be able to recruit them and lead them on an invasion of Equestria. Lyra thought about that. Doesn't seem her style, she noted. She's kind of big on making sure every pony knows who she is. I am Celestia! I am the sun! That type of thing. Trixie shrugged again. Maybe, probably even. But it's possible. Which brings us back to, we don't know anything substantial about zebras. Not their culture, their tactics, we barely understand their language. And we don't know anything about their magic. Trixie waved the book she was holding around, reminding Lyra that it was there. This is a translated copy of a zebra spellbook. I guess it could be called. Princess Luna wanted me to look it over. See if I can figure out how zebra magic works. You know, 'cause I'm the element of magic, and magic's my special talent. Should be easy, right? I'm guessing it's not, Lyra asked, as her own horn glowed, as he reached out telekinetically, grasping the book. Trixie let her, and Lyra opened it as it neared. The writing within was in neat, elegant script, and seemed to consist mostly of lists of random, and sometimes very random, ingredients, and how to mix it together. What to do while one was mixing it together. If Lyra hadn't known any better, she thought it was some kind of cookbook. Trixie was again shifting uncomfortably from hoof to hoof. I don't know the first thing about magic! She finally exclaimed, probably once Lyra did she attended. Lyra blinked a few times, eyeing Trixie. Huh? I don't know anything about magic! Trixie exclaimed again. I just do it! Okay, that's a lie. I know some general stuff. I know the 8 schools of magic, I think, and I know all the elusive sub-schools, but I don't know anything about actually goes into magic to make a spell. I can't tell you anything about how to identify a spell as it's being cast. The seafoam green unicorn stared, wide-eyed. But what was Luna teaching about you all these years then? She asked. Spells. But cast something. Something you don't think I'd know, but something simple, Trixie said, standing and watching Lyra intently, horn glowing slightly as he did. Lyra stared a few moments, then nodded, horn glowing. A golden spear appeared in front of her. After a second, it popped, and Lyra's instrument of choice, her golden lyre that had been a gift from her parents, the very one that first inspired her to pursue music and had helped her get her cutie mark, appeared from thin air. She caught it in her hooves as it fell. Trixie nodded. Okay, she said, her horn glowing blue. A moment later, Lyra's lyre disappeared from her hooves as a cerulean spear appeared in front of Trixie, and a second later, the lyre appeared from it. Trixie elected to catch it telekinetically, then passed it back to Lyra, who was blinking in confusion. What? Lyra demanded. That's how Luna taught me spells, Trixie said. That's how I've always learned spells. You cast by ear? Lyra asked, eyes wide. What? It's a music term. It's when you learn how to play a song just by listening to it, rather than actually learning the notes. Oh, then yeah, I just watch some pony cast something. I pay attention to what their auras are doing, and how magic is moving around, and then I usually do it. Anything complicated I need to watch several times, but Lyra tried to wrap her mind around that. I hate you, she said, though with no real malice in her voice. Do you know how much studying I had to do at the academy? Trixie used a hoof to draw a circle on the floor, looking embarrassed. Magic's my special talent, she said. And besides, that's why I need your help. I have no idea what I'm looking for in zebra magic. I'm never any good with spell books. Writing down all the steps in a spell always seems like writing down the moves of a dance. You know, everything that makes the spell work is just lost. So what do you need me for? Trixie looked at the zebra back, holding it up. I want to cast one of these on you. Well, cast is the wrong word, really. I don't know. Zebra magic is weird. But I want to do one. On you. Lyra stared. On me. Trixie held up her front hooves. I know exactly what you're thinking, she said, holding the book forward and indicating one of its spells in it. I picked an easy one. All it'll do is turn you into a zebra. I don't really know why zebras have a spell for turning ponies into zebras, but it's right here. And she flipped the book's pages towards the back of it. Here's how to end it. Plus, she flipped to a few pages later. This spell ritual thing is sort of like a zebra magic eraser. So even if the first doesn't work, the second one will, no matter what. She closed the book, looking at Lyra attentively. I'll be casting it to get a feel for zebra magic. You'll be watching me cast it, so you can see all those little details. Then, a quick counter spell, and we're set. We'll take 15 minutes. Lyra grimaced slightly, looking at the clock hanging in Trixie's living room. It was now 11:41. She took the book for Trixie, reading the spell in detail. Trixie was right. Zebra magic was strange, bearing no resemblance to Earth Pony, Pegasus, or Unicorn magic. For ponies, magic was just something that was part of them, and each tribe of pony had its own unique way of manipulating it. Earth Pony was magic, inborn, giving them their strength and endurance compared to the other ponies, as well as subtle, rooting itself in the earth that they lived on, promoting life and fertility in the soil. Pegasus magic was partially inborn and well, in their wings that allowed them to fly, but also something that could be projected outwards through their wings and hooves, letting them manipulate the winds, clouds, and cause weather. Unicorn magic was almost entirely projected, raw magical energy focused through their horns to create spells and effects. But looking over the zebra spell, it seemed as though zebras almost had no magic of their own, and couldn't really manipulate themselves. The spell seemed more like an attempt on the zebra's part to manipulate reality itself, to exploit flaws or loopholes in the laws of nature and magic by doing the right things in the proper sequence to achieve the desired result. Lyra grimaced when she realized her curiosity had been fully piqued at this point. There were any number of music academies in Equestria that Lyra could have gone to. She picked the Magic Academy over all of them for two reasons. First and foremost was the scholarship, but second, perhaps just as important, was the magic aspect of it. She was a unicorn, and she couldn't just not be intrigued by the chance to learn magic, even if it was this bizarre, formulaic version used by zebras. "Alright," Lyra said at length, handing the book back to Trixie. "Make me a zebra, then." Trixie smiled brightly. "Alright," she said, trotting past Lyra and out of the living room. "Follow me to the kitchen. I have everything I need set up right there."